Good morning, it is Jane. Have you ever started out your morning having gone and started the coffee machine, coffee maker, and you keep hearing this sputtering and you're like, what on earth is that noise? You go out to find that, first of all, you didn't put the coffee basket with the filter and the coffee into the machine and you left the top up. It makes a very interesting cup of coffee and a mess. That's how my day started. Oh boy. Um, as far as items that I've been working on this week, um, I've continued to work on this blanket here, this Afghan, and haven't weaved any ends in. You know, normally I like to stop and then weave in ends, but with the eye issue, I'm kind of waiting till it clears up a little bit more. It does clear up just a tiny bit each day, which I am grateful for. Praise God. But, you know, I'd like it to go a lot faster than what it is, but, God's timing. So there's that. But that is basically all I have worked on in the realm of yarn crafts. And as you know, I was out at the Lamar campgrounds where another gal and I were asked to do crafts a couple of days during the week. And this is for adults. Although teenagers, kids can come, but most of the kids have a craft where they do with someone else. But we were asked to help lead the adult one. And of course, one of those crafts was taking picture frames and let's hope that'll focus. It's not going to focus well. Thronin, really wish that you would quit. There we go. You take napkins and you decoupage them to the outer frame. So we did that, and that was my partner's, her task. Mine was a little bit different. I had chosen to do what I call it's painting with balloons. Now, the idea is that you take your canvas and you'll put a dot of one color, different places on your canvas, and then you take another dot or a small line of acrylic paint that goes around that dot and another one, that kind of thing. Well, what happens lots of times is it's hard to get that dot. It's hard to get that real thin line. And I'm going to show you some of the things that, because I used two techniques for these. One of the things that we had done, and one of those was this. But then I showed, and this was another one. But I showed how if you take a Sharpie, you can create lines of your flower, if that's what you're choosing, or whatever it is that you would like to do. So that was a couple of those. This one was a little bit of a different one. I have not finished with it because there are things you can do to change it up, add to it. You could also let it dry completely, like this is dry now, and then you could do some repainting on it. Now this is a flat board, and they do, because it gets wet, they do curve up a little bit. Dollar Tree, this is where all this came from. And this was one of the other ones that I have not finished, and I'm not real sure what I want to do with it. Sort of looks like one of those Rorschach things, but I am going to do something else with that. Which, like I said, if you let it dry, then it can create something very interesting. Now, one of the other techniques that I did was you take a balloon and you open up the opening of the balloon, take a marble, put it up inside of the balloon, and then you can let it go and, turn it inside out. Then you place your marble in the center of the balloon as close as you can get it. Take a rubber band around the marble to help secure it in one spot, and you want to make sure it's good and tight, that rubber band around it. Then you push the marble back through the balloon, and then you blow up your balloon to whatever size you want, and then you use that to dip into color and to create different things on your canvas. So this is what I had done when we were doing the craft, showing them how to do it. And as you can see, some of the negative space is really great on these. This was the original stamp, and then this one here, and then this, and then I did this one and this one last. Well, now with this one, I had already stamped a little bit, but I decided to dip into yellow and to see what would happen. So that's what happened with that. And then you just paint, your stems in if you want, or whatever you want behind. You could just leave it with the flowers. But that's what I had done, and as a demonstration to the gals. I am going to insert some pictures of the other crafts that they did. And there were two ladies that wanted to keep their balloons with the paint on it, so they allowed them to dry in that manner because they wanted to take them home and blow them up or whatever, show family members, whatever it was. And you could actually paint your design onto your balloon around where that marble was, and then stamp. And there were some rather interesting things. So here's those photos here. And then one of the ladies had I'd given her another canvas, asked her if she wanted one, and she was like, "No, I just want to see what it looks like." So she did stamp that out, and you should have seen her balloon where she had the color applied to it. So it's a fun way to play with art and to play with art, paints, and just enjoy some of that. So those were the things that I had done this week. As far as anything else, just haven't got to it. The eye makes it very difficult to do a lot of things, including reading, doing Bible studies. So it's been a trip. All right. Let's see. Is there anything else? I thought I would tell you about Ronan and his new way of playing fetch. It's still the same, where he brings me the mouse, I toss it, he goes after it, he brings it back to me. He's added a little something different. I have 3 bags in here that have like this. These are, what you got at AC Moore long time ago, or you could get them at Joann's. They're that polypropylene type bags, plastic, with designs on them. So I have two of them that have yarn in it. I have one that my recycled paper I toss into. Well, he has started going to bring the mouse towards me. Then he gives me this strange little look, looks off to the side, and then he tries to hide it in one of those bags. So he wants me to find the mouse. So he's having, he's just changing up the game the way a cat does. And it's a lot of fun, with him. He just cracks me up. Cats definitely have a different personality. And Izzy is the same way. She does things that, I think, oh my goodness. And I have that one box that they don't want me to get rid of. Every time I go to pick it up to break it down, they're in it. So, what are you going to do, right? All right. Are you ready for a little what in Tarnation? Yeah, I may have to put my glasses on for this. I have noticed when I'm using my phone or the iPad, it helps to have glasses on, so can't hold it far enough away, even with my good eye. American pronghorn calf rescued by San Diego Zoo Wildlife Association. Rescuers with the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance swooped in to save an underweight American pronghorn fawn found struggling on private land in New Mexico. Rescuers Melody Tales and Marty Saw-in made the 13-hour drive from the San Diego Zoo Safari Park in Escondido to the New Mexico property where the pronghorn, an animal that resembles a deer but is actually more closely related to the giraffe, was found underweight and dehydrated. There was a landowner that saw this little fawn wandering around his property, and that's not normal for pronghorn to do when they're just born. They're known as tuckers. They'll tuck away into a little spot till their mom comes back and gets them, Tales said. San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance Senior Public Relations Representative. That's a long title to say. That took the whole space of a full sentence. Amanda Martinez said fawn was given some initial care at the New Mexico Wildlife Center before being transported back to the San Diego Zoo. Thanks to the quick work of everyone involved, from the local landowner who discovered the fawn to multiple institutions, the young pronghorn survived and is now healthy, adjusting to his new home in San Diego. And there is a link, it's just pictures. I don't think there is video. I might be mistaken of this. And, when I read that, I was like, really? Related to a giraffe? Okay. California woman's home flooded with unwanted Amazon packages. Boy, this is interesting. A California woman said her house is being flooded with unwanted Amazon packages that have been arriving for about a year. The San Jose resident, who wanted to remain anonymous, said each box contains a faux leather car seat cover from the brand Etkin and sold by Chinese Amazon seller Louis Sandidian. Can't pronounce that. The woman's address was apparently listed as the company's address for returns. The online seller reviews are filled with complaints about seat covers not fitting, the high cost of returns, and failure to receive refunds. Oftentimes, what it costs to return it is more than 50% of what they paid for it. Plus, these consumers aren't getting their money back. She said the packages continued to pour in despite Amazon's repeated assurances to fix the issue. We've apologized to the customer and are working directly with her to pick up any packages while taking steps to permanently resolve this issue, Amazon said in a statement. Company representatives visited the woman's home on Tuesday to remove the packages. And then it goes on to list a couple of other ones, like John DeFore last year when dozens of unwanted ones showed up, and they labeled that a brushing scam, which means that Amazon sellers are sending packages to random addresses so they can artificially inflate their number of positive reviews. I'm not real sure how that happens, because I wouldn't go and review a product I hadn't ordered. But whatever. And the same thing of a woman that was in Ontario, then someone else in Virginia last year. So it's an ongoing problem. My question is, why does it always seem to be coming from Chinese companies? Whatever. Small child climbs into claw machine at Ohio Community Center. Now, what I thought was interesting is how many people, and this one fellow walked by and really didn't notice anything until he saw the legs disappear. There is video. It's surveillance video. So, which is kind of hard to see. But if you're on a device, you can normally expand it a little bit to see a little closer. Security cameras were recording at a Ohio Community Center when a small child climbed into a claw machine and became stranded among the stuffed animals. Surveillance footage from Mason Community Center shows the moment the child looks into the prize door and climbs inside, with the volunteer only noticing as the boy's legs disappear into the machine. Police and EMS were summoned to the July 7th incident and brought the machine inside the building to be partially disassembled. The child, who was not injured, was reunited with his mother, whom he presented with a new stuffed animal. Talk about rewarding a child for their behavior. No consequences? Interesting. Now, I find this absolutely adorable. Japanese racehorse famous for losing gains new fans from mobile game. A retired Japanese racehorse famous for never winning a race is experiencing a new surge of popularity thanks to a popular mobile game. Haru Urara, 29-year-old mare who retired from racing in 2004, served as the inspiration for a character of the same name in the mobile game Uma Musume Pretty Derby, which launched globally June the 26th. The real-life Haru Urara, famous for wearing a Hello Kitty mask and losing every one of her 113 races, became a national icon during her ill-fated career, with fans considering her to be an inspirational figure who never gives up. The mobile game features anime-style human-like characters with horse ears and tails engaging in track races. The fictional Haru Urara, and I'm sure I'm butchering that name, character's bio states, she's always smiling, no matter how many times she loses. She always tries her best and looks at the brighter side of things. A member of the official Haru Urara fan club who uses the handle at animal_love_Kaz on X posted a photo of the real horse celebrating her birthday in February while wearing a tiara. The photo went suddenly viral earlier this month, which the user attributed to the game's popularity. The user, who frequently visits Haru Uraro at Martha Farm, updated her bio to say, "I don't play Uma Masumi." New fans seeking to meet the real Haru Urara can schedule visits on the farm's website. There are two links. The one link is to the photo on X. The other one is a link to a little snippet of the gameplay. Pittsburgh group brings back Balls Out Bowling maid event. Unfortunately, it happened this past weekend on the 12th, and I don't think there's video. Might be interesting. A Pennsylvania naturism group announced the return of Balls Out Bowling, an annual bowling event where clothing is not allowed. The Pittsburgh area naturalist announced this year's Balls Out Bowling event will take place on Saturday at Pittsburgh Crafton Ingram Lanes. Admission to the annual event is $30, which includes 4 hours of unlimited bowling and shoe rental. The group said the only clothing allowed for attendees are shoes, which are required, and optional bottoms for women. Please bring a towel and a bag for your belongings, the event page states. The group said all participants must be at least 18 years old and all genders, sexualities, and bodies are welcome. No photos or videos are allowed during the event. Darn. Sexual activity is not permitted. Nudism does not equal consent, and harassment will not be taken lightly. Violators will be asked to leave, the page states. My question is it a closed event so that no one else can be in there when they are bowling? I would hope so. Could you imagine dropping your kids off to go bowling, not realizing that there's a nude event going on? All right, that's enough. Blueberry spill causes literal traffic jam in British Columbia. Police in British Columbia said there was a literal traffic jam on a highway when a pickup truck lost its load of freshly picked blueberries. The Mission RCMP said on social media that a white Ford pickup truck stopped at the intersection of Lougheed Highway and Wynn Street, and when the vehicle started moving again moments later, several crates of freshly picked blueberries fell into the roadway. Some crates went crashing down onto the roadway, and thousands of blueberries spilled across, creating a sticky mess for vehicles that drove over the fruit. RCMP officers were called to the juicy incident and used a shovel to push the sticky remains out of the roadway. Perhaps Mission RCMP could team up with the Mission Farmers Market in the future to feature some new offerings such as jackknife jelly, pothole preserves, and the ever-popular traffic jam, the Post joked. And our very last, what in tarnation makes me go seriously? Seriously. World's most expensive cheese sells for $42,232. A Cabrales cheese aged in a cave, you heard it right, aged in a cave for 10 months received top marks in competition in Spain and earned a Guinness World Record when it was auctioned for $42,232. The cheese, created by Angel Diaz Guerrero Cheese Factory, was sold by the Regulatory Council DOP Cabrales in Asturias, Spain, and purchased by restaurant El Llagar de Coloto. I don't know if I'm butchering that name or not. Guinness World Records declared the dairy delicacy to be the most expensive cheese sold at auction. The cheese hit the auction blocks after the regulatory council named it Mejor Queso del Centenario, or best cheese of the competition. The pricey cheese, weighing in at 5 pounds, was made with cow's milk and aged for 10 months in the Los Mazos cave, which is nearly 5,000 feet above sea level. And there you have it. That is it for your What in Tarnation. Now we're going to move on to the devotional. I will tell you, sinuses are bad today, and I apologize for that. But such is life. This is the devotional I picked up at Ollie's. It is with God, I always have hope. Words of life. It is the Spirit who gives life. The flesh is no help at all. The words that I have spoken to you are spirit and life. This comes from John 6, verse 63. Jesus said that his words are spirit and life, more than uttered sound. They carried supernatural ability and power. When you allow his words to remain in you, you can experience his life-giving power. Jesus' words had spiritual power. They were able to restore life every time they emanated from his lips. His words also had significant psychological impact, unleashing God's power to heal mental illness and those persecuted by demons. When the disciples' words were unsuccessful, Jesus' words achieved the desired result. Jesus' words also had physical power. One word from Jesus and shriveled limbs regrew. The blind received their sight, and the chronically ill walked away whole. God has given us the great gift of access to his word. The Apostle John exhorts us to ingest. Sorry about that.